KLT. Follow me, I am the leader. Stepping on them like I'm coming for freedom. Marching on them for them starving, tell me who gon' feed them. They won't walk over X when you need them. Black Panther, no Disney movie. We gon' walk them down with them eagles. Free them. They say what they like it's flattery. I speak the truth in this prophecy. Stay strapped with that sword and the IGP. Like Moses, son, solo, come follow me. Long way from that store where them pilots be. I had that row and no total, no bother me. Sitting at the top, no monopoly. I ain't the one coming follow me. Running the game so long, need a breather. Strikes on my back like they beat them. Gotta stay strong, you must finish my freedom. Gotta stay young, let that switch up that light when they see me. I'm the red in the game, so you better take it easy. Stepping on my toes, show them really wanna see me. They hit that they gone Houdini. Trying to make me seem rubbing on my neck, let them pop out like a genius. Still on my grind, you know we break. Running it back and I call it that replay. I wanted it back, they on my back. They don't wanna follow best friend what we say. Shalom, fam. Let me give all praise to the Heavenly Father. Kahalam now, yo, but show my shot, yo, shot. It's gonna be a short one, family, but let's get into it. We're gonna start at Exodus 2:11. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. Now we go to Acts 7:23. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Yasharal. So no, Acts it tells us Moses was about 40 years old, family. He's 40 years old. So we get into Exodus. Moses 40 years old. Verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting the Hebrew, one of his brethren. Acts 7 tells us Moses was 40 then. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest you your fellow? And he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? And intendest you to kill me as you killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So we see that was 2 days later. Moses 40 years old. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. So we know Moses fled from the face of the Pharaoh. 2 days later, 40 years old. And he dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherd came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. Let's continue on, family. We're going to jump to chapter this is. Exodus 4. We're going to start at verse 10. And when Moses said unto Yahweh, O my Adonai, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. So they use this verse to say Moses was slow, he couldn't speak good, stuttering, whatever. Some people use that. But what they don't understand, as I read before, Moses was 40 years old. He fled to the land of Midian, fam. So he dwelt in the land of Midian. So we get to verse 10 of Exodus 4. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, a dying family, I am not eloquent. He said, I'm not fluent, neither heretofore nor since. Not since thou hast spoken unto thy servant. So he said, I ain't been fluent since you first came to me or right now. But I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. What he's saying, he's slow of speaking this language. And he's talking about the Egyptian language. And we'll find out how, because people say, oh, Moses was learning all the way to Egyptian. But we find out he fled to the land of Midian when he was 40 years old. Now he said he's no longer fluent in that language or in that speech. We go to Exodus 7:7. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old when they spake unto Pharaoh. So we find out it's 40 years later since he left out a Midian family. So he's 40 years old when he fled Kemet, or Egypt, what do you want to call it, into the land of Midian, where he dwelt by a well and married one of the daughters of Jethro. So he was there for about 40 years, as we see Exodus 7:7. He wasn't 80 years old now. So that's 40 years he wasn't speaking no Egyptian language. So that's why you see in verse 10 it says, and Moses said unto Hardened, I am not eloquent, I'm not fluent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant. He said, I'm not fluent now or then when you came unto me. But I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. He said he's not fluent in this language anymore, and he's slow of speaking it. Speaking this language, he's of a slow tongue at it. And we find out that's because he was in Midian about 40 years, because he wasn't 80 years old. It's what Exodus 7 tells us. He was 80 years old, 80 years old, and Aaron 83 when they came to Pharaoh. So it's almost 40 years later. What verse is it? 1 second. We're going to go back to Exodus chapter 2. Verse 5. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. When she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. So we know they constantly called us the Hebrews. Then said his sister, so this is Moses' sister, to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. So Moses' sister went and got his own mama. So Moses was raised by his mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. So we see Moses' mama is taking care of him. Pharaoh's daughter don't know that this is Moses' mother, or nor know that that is his sister. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter. So we know Moses being raised by his mother, so we know he will be learning a Shemitic language, which is the Hebrew language. And she became her son, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, Mashah. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. Then we go to Genesis 25:1. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. So what we see is The Midianites are descendants of Abraham, which was also a Hebrew, spoke Hebrew. So we know Jethro. Let's go back. Go back to Exodus 2. Verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled troughs to water their flock. We'll jump down. And when they came to rear their father, he said, how is it that you are come so soon to this day? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. So we know Moses can speak to this man, because Moses knows the Shemitic language, Hebrew. He also spoke Egyptian at this time when he first came into Midian. But he was there 40 years, was no longer speaking the Egyptian language fluently. He was speaking the Shemitic language of the Hebrew branch, which he also learned from his mother, being raised in Egypt by his mother. So he was learning multiple languages. He would know the Egyptian language and the Hebrew. And we come down to Wikipedia. We go to Middle Egyptian. Middle Egyptian was spoken for about 700 years, beginning around 2000 BC. So we have a language they call it the Middle Egyptian. It was spoken for about 700 years, beginning around 2000 BC. And we know this is times where we come into Egypt, to Kemet. Joseph, Abraham, Joseph came in. Then we all came in. And they speaking the Middle Egyptian language then. So we know through time periods, their language changed. Now we're going to go to Exodus 6. We're going to go to verse 12. Well, start at verse 11. Go in, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, that he let the children of Yasharal go out of his land. And Moses spake before Yahweh, saying, behold, the children of Yasharal have not hearkened unto me. They have not listened to me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? So we see Moses, when he spoke to the children of Israel, now he said, how I'm going to speak to Pharaoh, who is of uncircumcised lips. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Yasharal, and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Yasharal out of the land of Egypt. Then we jump up to Exodus 7. And Yahweh said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Yasharal out of his land. So Moses is going to communicate where Yahweh speak to him. He's going to speak it to Aaron. Aaron going to speak unto Pharaoh, because he's more fluent in the language that the Pharaoh speaks. So Moses has been gone for 40 years. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. See, they try to play on the scripture, family. When they see hard, they don't know what hard means. So they come up with a theory in their head. But harden the heart is talking about angering his heart, which brings Pharaoh to refusal and turns Pharaoh into eat wickedness because of his thoughts. So he said, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. He's going to anger Pharaoh's heart, which is going to make Pharaoh stiff-necked and stubborn. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And how will he be doing this? And multiply my signs. So he angered Pharaoh's heart. He's going to multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. So by him multiplying his signs, it's going to continue to anger Pharaoh's heart. It's going to continue to harden his heart. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine army. So he's saying, Pharaoh is not going to listen to you. That I'm going to have to bring my hand upon Egypt and bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Yasharah, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. So he's saying because Pharaoh's not going to listen, because he's going to be angered and refusal, he's going to have to lay his hand upon Egypt with judgments, great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Yasharah from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh commanded them, so did they. Now we're going to jump back to what Exodus 5 tell you already. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahweh? Who is the Lord? That I should obey his voice to let Yasharah go. So you already know beforehand, Pharaoh is already saying, who is this Lord? That I'm going to let these people go. I know not the Lord. Neither would I let Yasharah go. So he already telling us beforehand, he ain't letting us go. You don't know who the Lord is. Do not care. So we jump back, Exodus 7. And we see why he's saying this. We go to verse 8. And Lord and Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, when Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, show a miracle for you, then you shall say unto Aaron, take your rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. So Moses is going to tell Aaron to cast the rod, because remember, he's going to be as God unto Aaron. So that means Yahweh is going to speak to Moses, and Moses is going to speak to Aaron, and Aaron going to be as the prophet speaking to the Pharaoh. So we know Aaron will be doing many of these wonders, as Moses tells him to do these things, because Yahweh was speaking to Moses. And you shall say unto Aaron, take your rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and before his servant, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. So this is why Pharaoh is saying, who is Yahweh that I should obey his voice and let Yasharah go? I know not Yahweh, neither will I let Yasharah go. Because he got his sorcerers, his wise men and his sorcerers, the guys he followed. Verse 12, for they cast down every man his rod, they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. See, he angered Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not, that he listened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. So he was in frustration, he was in anger because of this. Who was this God? I don't know this God he's talking about. Then he called his sorcerers and wise men, try to pull the same trick. Their rods got eaten up. So he was angered and frustration. Exodus 9. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, this is Yahweh, God of the Hebrews. So we see God of the Hebrews, called us Hebrews, the children of Yasharah. But many of us know us as the Hebrews. Let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go, then we'll hold them still. So he tells them already, let my people go. And he let them know, if you refuse to let them go, and we'll hold them still. Behold, the hand of Yahweh is upon your cattle, which is in the field, upon your horses, upon the asses, and upon the camels, upon the oxen, upon the sheep. There shall be various grieving rain. And Yahweh shall sever between the cattle of Yasharah and the cattle of Egypt, and there shall nothing die of all that is in the children of Yasharah. So he said none of the children of Yasharal's cattle are going to die, but the Egyptians are. And Yahweh appointed a set time, saying, tomorrow Yahweh shall do this thing in the land. And Yahweh did that thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died. But the cattle of the children of Yasharal died not one. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh's heart was hard. He was angered. And he did not let the people go. We'll go to chapter 10. Exodus 10. And Yahweh said unto Moses, going unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart. I have angered his heart, what he's saying. And the heart of his servants. They all in frustration. They in anger. That I might show thee my signs before him. He said, so they all boasted up in anger. They don't want to listen. They steady to refuse. That I might have to show, I'm going to have to show my signs before them. Before him. And that thou mayest tell in the ears of your son and of your sons that what things I have wrought in Egypt and my signs, which I have done among them, that they may know how that I am Yahweh. He is the Adon, he the true God. They follow these little false guys with their sorcerers and wise men, refusing to let us go who was in Egypt. He kept getting angered. Like, who this guy supposed to be telling me what I need to do? I got my own God. That witchery they was following. So he was angered every time our God, Yahweh, would show these signs and do these things, these wonders. He said through his wonders, remember. And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, this says Yahweh, Allah of the Hebrews. Remember, we called them Hebrews. How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? You see this? How long will you refuse? Because he started refusing. His heart been angered from the signs and wonders going on. That his false gods not overtaking what our God is doing. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if you refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow I will bring the locusts into your coasts. And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. And they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. So it's in these plagues, and these, hail, storms, fire, thunder, and lightning. These are judgments, family. We're almost done. 1 Samuel 6:6. Wherefore then do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? You see this? Hold on, let me go back one more because we went back to Exodus 9. I'm gonna go back to this real quick. Verse 7. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead, and the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. So we know his heart was angered. But we go down. Verse 33. And when Moses went out of the city from Pharaoh, and spread abroad his hands unto Yahweh, and the thunders and hail ceased, and the rain was not poured upon the earth. And when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunders were ceased, he sinned yet more. You see this? Look what Pharaoh did. He sinned yet more and hardened his heart. So we know that Pharaoh was hardening his own heart. But we know Yahweh is angering him when he said, I will harden his heart. It means he will anger him. But due to his own frustration of him refusing to humble himself, he's angering his own self and coming up with these wicked thoughts of what to do. He and his servants. That's all. When we got to chapter 10, And Yahweh said unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, I have angered his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show thee my signs before him. So we know he said he angered their hearts of Pharaoh and his servants, that he might show these signs before him. And we find that he's speaking of the same thing in verse 9. We find that and Pharaoh sinned yet more and hardened his heart, he and his servants. So through the wonders that are going on and these plagues, they're being angered by Yahweh, by our God, by the plagues sent upon them. And they're refusing. They continue to harden their hearts. They're refusing, turning away from the word. That's all we get to 1 Samuel 6:6. Wherefore then do you harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? So we know what really was going on. When he had wrought wonderfully among them. You see that? They were hardening their hearts because he was wrought wonderfully among them. He was showing signs and wonders that he's a true God. So they were hardening their hearts, being angered, frustrated, refusing, being stiff-necked, family. We'll be at the same thing. Because they done these things. Did they not let the people go and they departed? Let's go to that. Exodus 14. Verse 3. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Yasharal, they are entangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. So we see he's going to be angry in Pharaoh's heart. And we know how. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, that the Egyptians might know that I am Yahweh. He's a true Lord. And they did so. And it was told to the king of Egypt that the people fled. So we're seeing how he's going to be hardened. How he's going to be angry. See, up that verse 4. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall follow after them. So he's going to anger. How is this going to happen? We get to verse 5. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled. So now his heart being hardened. And the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants were turned against the people. See this? And they said, why have we done this? That we have let Yasharal go from serving us. So we see him hardening his heart was turned against the people. So he turned against his own people, asking, why have we done this? He was angered because he was told that the people fled. He was told that we fled. So his heart was hardened with anger and filled with anger and frustration. It turned against the people. So when he hardened his heart, it's full with its anger, and he's turning against the people. Because every time Yahweh done a wonder through Moses and Aaron, he was angered and he turned more against the people, making the work more harder and rigor. Why have we done this? Why have we let Yasharal go from serving us? See, he asked him the same thing. And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and the chariot of Egypt and the captains over every one of them. And Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he pursued after the children of Yasharal. And the children of Yasharal went out with a high hand. So we see he angered his heart. Because we go to verse 5. The king was told that the Hebrews fled. So he's upset. He's turned against the people. Go to verse 8. Because Yahweh angered him by getting us out of there, he decided, I'm finna go pursue after the children of Yasharal. And the children of Yasharal went out with a high hand. So we'll run back one more time. we find that Moses killed an Egyptian that was smiting the Hebrew. He fled and dwelt in the land of Midian. He married the daughter of Jethro. Midianites, which spoke a Hebrew language, a Shemitic language of the Hebrew brand. Moses was 40 years old when he fled. 2 days later, after he smit the Egyptian, he was 40 years old. Then he went to the land of Midian. We find out he's telling Yahweh he's not fluent in speaking this language, and he's slow of speech. He was slow of speaking it, slow of tongue. He's slow of speaking this language, not fluent at it. Find out because he was in Midian for 40 years. So he's not speaking that language fluently anymore because he ain't been speaking it for about 40 years fluently. He was speaking Hebrew still. Shemitic language. We find out that Moses was raised by his mother before giving to Pharaoh's daughter, so we know he would have been learning the Hebrew language. He would learn all the way the Egyptian, so he knew their language also at that time. But when he fled to Midian, he was gone for 40 years, no longer speaking the Egyptian language. We find out that the Midianites come from Abraham, Keturah. They're descendants of Abraham, which was a Hebrew, so their language is a Hebrew language. So we know that Moses was able to speak to Jethro and his daughters. We see when he told Moses to speak to Pharaoh, and was speaking about he wasn't fluent in the language, he didn't know it that good anymore. So Aaron would be the mouthpiece for Moses. We find out Pharaoh said, "Who is Yahweh? Who is this Adon? Then I should obey his voice." So we already know off the top when they first come to him. He don't care. He let us know that from the jump. He don't know this guy. He got his own guys he worship. I know not Yahweh. Neither will I let Yashua go. So we already know from the jump. He already ain't finna let us go what he telling us, that he don't care about our God. None of that. So we find out about his heart being hard. We find out that's meaning he angering Pharaoh's heart, turning him against us and the people because he's upset. It's like you think you running things and somebody coming to tell you what to do. You're like, I'm not finna listen to him. Who he's supposed to be. That's what Pharaoh was doing. He was getting stiff-necked and stubborn, boasting for these false gods of his. We find out Pharaoh and his servants hardened their own hearts after seeing the wonders. And when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunders were ceased, he sinned yet more and hardened his heart. You see? And hardened his own heart. That's what we know, because he was already angered by Yahweh from the wonders. So he boasted himself up more frustration and anger, turning himself more against us. And he and his servants. They came unto Pharaoh and said unto him, Yahweh of the Hebrews, that's what he said. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me. So we know he's not putting no spirit into Pharaoh, making Pharaoh he do the things that people saying or whatever. By his wonders and his plagues of what he said he would do if you don't let us go is what is hardening Pharaoh's heart. It's making him angry, turning him more wicked, boasting himself. Because he's Pharaoh and he got these false gods that he served. He got his sorcerers and his wise men. We find out 1 Samuel 6:6 say, wherefore then do you harden your hearts
As the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, angering themselves, turning themselves away from the truth, refusing to do right. Frustration, refusal, family. See, they angry and they're turning themselves into refusal to do righteousness and right. They refuse to humble themselves. Let me give all praise to the Heavenly Father. Kala now Yahweh, Basham Masha Yosha.
KLT. Follow me, I am the leader. Stepping on them like I'm coming for freedom. Marching on them for them starving, tell me who gon' feed them. They won't walk over X when you need them. Black Panther, no Disney movie. We gon' walk them down with them eagles. Free them. They take what they like it's flattery. I speak the truth in this prophecy. Stay strapped with that sword and the eye to bleed. Like Moses, son, so look, come follow me. Long way from that store where them dollars be. I had that roll and no total, no bother me. Sitting at the top, no monopoly. I ain't the one coming follow me. Running the game so long, need a breather. Strikes on my back like they beat them. Gotta stay strong, you must finish my freedom. Gotta stay on, let that switch up that light with the semen. I'm the red in the game, so you better take it easy. Stepping on my toes, you don't really wanna see me. They hit that they gone Houdini. Trying to make me sin, rubbing on my neck, I'm pop out like a genius. Still on my grind, you know we bread. Running it back and I call it a replay. I wanted it back, they on my back. You don't wanna follow best friend, what we say.